With the release of Sonic Shadow Generations, and with Sonic 3 coming to theaters this December, what better time than now to talk about the controversial Shadow the Hedgehog video game? This was my introduction to the Sonic franchise back when I was in elementary school. While it is a spin-off of the Sonic franchise, it is technically still my first Sonic game. The story takes place sometime after Sonic Heroes, where in that game, the mystery of Shadow's return began after his presumed demise at the end of Sonic Adventure 2. Though at the time it was believed that he was just an android created by Dr. Eggman, the Shadow game reopens the mystery at the start of the game with Shadow contemplating his origin and who he was before his amnesia. Just as he was remembering the good old days about the time when Maria got shot in the face, the evil alien army known as the Black Arms invade Earth with their leader Black Doom trying to enlist Shadow to help him find the Chaos Emeralds to either enslave the Earth or destroy it. From there, the choices began, where Shadow can either help the devil gather the colorful stones for evil fuckery, help his blue imposter get rid of these disgusting black creatures, his words not mine, to save the Earth, or just to collect the emeralds for himself, all of which is a means to get the answers about his forgotten identity and to decide what he should do after once he uncovers the truth about his past. The fate of the world rests on his shoulders. When I first played the game years ago, I just went through point A to point B because at the time I didn't realize that there were other objectives besides just get to the goalpost. So I got to witness one of the evil endings where Shadow embraces his dark side after finding out that he was an android and murders Eggman before going off to conquer the world with his android army empire. I didn't even bat an eye. My 4th grade self was like, cool. But I loved the game so much that I just kept playing the same route over and over again until I accidentally discovered the other routes by killing, quote unquote, the human soldiers. And by kill, I mean pounding them into submission or shooting them into submission. From there, the game really opened up to me. Choosing which path to go through means more levels, bosses, and endings with some really amazing music, whether it's from the background of the levels or in the credits. I don't know if it's fair to say it's a choice-based game. I mean, yeah, you can approach the game any way you want and do the branch stories in any order, or even create your own branches, but you need to beat every level and boss in order to get the last story segment, where you get to play the final level and uncover the real truth about Shadow's past, turn to Super Shadow against a pretty good final boss, and get the true ending. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The best way I can describe the game's story structure is it's like a combination of Pulp Fiction, Mr. Nobody, and Clue. It's like Pulp Fiction because the story is non-linear. Certain scenes happen before other scenes, and some scenes happen after, so you're piecing together what happened in which order. It's like Mr. Nobody because you get to see all the different paths and choices Shadow takes and how it affects him and those around him, leading to different versions and variations of Shadow. And it's like Clue because you get to see the different ways the story could end, letting the story itself having a bit of fun while saving the real ending and all of its secrets for last. In order to choose which path to follow, whether you want to go with the hero route, neutral, or the dark route, it's simply by choosing which objective you want to follow. If you want to follow the path of righteousness, aka the hero path, just listen to Sonic and his friends by taking on the Black Armed Forces, buying cream and cheese, or steal all of Eggman's money from his carnival. To follow the dark path, you have to eliminate gun agents, destroy any defenses your enemies might have, or try to assassinate the president by destroying his escape pod.
That's illegal. Extremely illegal. Very, very illegal. But not illegal to say with a mortar launcher.
Okay, well, even if you manage to destroy it, the president still manages to escape.
Suck it in!
Which is fair. I mean, goddamn. Like, are we gonna talk about that? It's amazing what happens when you're playing stuff as a kid or watching stuff as a kid. As adults, like, wow, amazing what goes over our heads as kids. By the way, this game does a terrible job at showing that Shadow doesn't kill people, well, sometimes. Like, there's this manned armored walkers that Omega describes as yeah, they're dead. Typically when you take out a soldier, they're usually on the ground begging for their life, like reaching their arm out and stuff. But like the Blue Falcon?
Green Falcon!
He's crashing to Earth. He's dead. Anyway, after you get to the last stage of your chosen path, your final choice is between the hero or the dark objective, which not only does it affect your ending, but most of the time it actually gives you a new boss to fight, which is neat. And as I mentioned before, you can also mix and match just for shits and giggles, where you can sometimes be good and then decide to be bad, only for you just to decide to be good again. Then you can decide to be neutral and then just go back to being good again after deciding not to be bad, but you were really considering it. Different endings play on who or what Shadow is and how how he could have survived. None of them are canon, but they're fun. Similar to Silent Hill, some of the endings can be seen as jokes, like one where Shadow's an android and takes over Eggman's forces for his new evil shadow android empire, but not before killing Eggman. Must have been a really hard karate chop though. Of course, canonically Shadow is not an android and Eggman was just gaslighting Shadow to mess with them throughout the game's cutscenes. But like I said, the endings play more of a what if and shows all the different directions the story could have gone. Another ending is where Shadow finds out that he killed everyone on the Ark 50 years ago and it wasn't the gun agents. Because of this, he falls into a Great Depression and then he kills himself? There might be a debate on what happened. I could see that maybe instead he just decided to seclude himself in shame. Or he did the other thing. But afterwards we hear this badass song, The Chosen One. I think the game is at its strongest when the goal is simple, in which Shadow just has to get to the end as fast as possible. I really love the level design as there's so much detail and thought into the obstacles and platforming. The music really sells and builds the atmosphere of each stage. It really is such a joy to listen to each track while you're running through the environment. Luckily, some of the other tasks that the other characters ask you to do is to just get to the goal. Well, their goal specifically. And it's awesome because their goalpost is further past the regular one. And it's really fun when you get to experience more of what the stage has to offer you. Like when Victor the Crocodile asks you to find the computer room! You see the goalpost there, like, you see the Chaos Emerald and all that. But the computer room is beyond this room, so you keep going until you find it, and it's great. When your task is not getting to the goal, and I do mean some of the non-goal related mission objectives can be relaxing when you're not worried about getting an A rank, which if you're familiar with Sonic games, levels are usually graded by how quickly you complete the stage. One that I really kind of enjoyed was hunting down the Chaos clones that Gerald Robotnik created. Yes, Chaos from the first Sonic Adventure game. I don't know what he was doing with those. I would have loved more information about that. Oh wait, I found it. It's in Gerald Robotnik's journal. Apparently they were created to help people in danger, so they serve as a search and rescue. I mean, Chaos has the ability to control water, so it makes sense. For instance, if there was a flooding. Anyway, so in the game they're going haywire and they're attacking people on the space colony Ark, so at the behest of Maria, you are tasked to hunt them down and stop them. The chill vibey music really helped making it a calm and soothing experience while traveling through the space colony Ark, hunting these things down. Don't get me wrong, there are only a few missions that I loathe, like having to activate or destroy some crap for Black Doom. Really became tedious as you're lost in a crazy maze of bullshit, and you can easily get turned around and lost, and it doesn't help when you're trying to get an A rank. By the way, if you're crazy enough to try and get an A rank on all 71 missions, including bosses, you will unlock the Expert mode, which will allow you to play every stage back to back with the simple objective of getting to the goal. The level design is even changed to not only make it more challenging, but to also give it more variety. I think it's really cool because it gives you more to do instead of just taking the regular levels and put them in order and just calling it a day. No, there was some thought put into these versions, almost like a callback to the Genesis games, where in Act 2, there's more going on with its obstacles. But it is hair-pullingly difficult to unlock this when you're trying to find 60 enemies in under 6 minutes, and that's if the game remembers to load one of them correctly, because I don't know if it's just my copy, but there were times where I tried to enter a room and the game didn't load in time, so I just fell through the world and died. Or in this case, it doesn't matter if I looked every nook and cranny, I will never find the last NPC to be able to finish unless I restart. So I don't know if it's just me, but then again, this came out a year before Sonic 06, and Sega had a really bad track record for releasing games unpolished just in time for the holiday season. But I kinda wish they did more with the expert mode. While I'm super happy that there's a way to just enjoy racing through the level design and taking in the scenery while not being bombarded with demands and commentary, I wish that the expert mode was a way to experience the game and its story in the proper order that actually happened. As it stands, there are no cutscenes or bosses in expert mode, as the lore reason is that it takes place after the main game and Shadow goes through training by going through the stages again like a gauntlet. But I think it would have been cool if you take the cutscenes that make sense, aka taking the ones that contradict each other, like Shadow laughing like a psycho because apparently he's an android, and all the fun times he murdered Robotnik, except the one where he just lets him leave, which I didn't think there would be one after the amount of times he bumped him off. But just take the cutscenes that make sense and place them in between the stages and bosses, like put the in-between bosses in there, like the Blue Falcon, and the Egg Breaker. Take out the pseudo-final bosses, like Diabolon and Egg Dealer, and after the final stage, don't have an ending. Just stitch the last story to make one complete narrative that has a beginning, middle, and end. Kind of like Memento. If you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend you do, but in the movie, it's edited out of order to simulate of the character's predicament of having, well, basically his condition is that he can't make new memories. But if you go through the DVD extras, there's a DVD Easter egg where you can actually find a different version of the movie where you can watch the movie in chronological order to see how the events really took place in real time. It could have been a great way to replay the game with a lore-accurate story. That's okay, I'll take what I can get. Most of the time you will have a choice of vehicles. I know what you're thinking, why the fuck would Shadow drive a vehicle? Why would you need a vehicle if you're super fast? Well, shut up. Honestly, the only ones that really suck are the four-wheelers. They are super clunky and almost impossible to control. Their only use is to get through hazardous environments, but even then it's not even worth getting into one of these things. Motorcycles are actually really fun to ride. It gives you more control over Shadow when moving side to side. The only downside is, as you can expect, it will slow you down, obviously. But actually, the biggest downside is it's incredibly rare to find one of these fucking things. I only found one during my whole playthrough. In fact, you can only ride the motorcycle in Lethal Highway, which means you're gonna find more cars than another goddamn chopper. Why? For what reason? Next to the Gunwalkers with the incredible super jump, the motorcycles are incredibly fun to ride, especially when it tightens the controls of the character. It is something I can ignore at the end of the day. This is a Sonic game and the running is the core of the franchise, but I still like options. But let's talk about Shadow's powers. Depending on which enemies you attack, you can build up one of the meters on the top screen. If you harm gun agents, you build up the Chaos Blast gauge, where you can explode chaos energy and get rid of the enemies around you, and some of the environmental objects, which can be used to find special capsules that might be hiding around the map. Taking out the Black Dawn forces or any enemy of that stage actually builds chaos control, where you can teleport or fly across the map for a short time. It can be exploited, especially when you want to skip the flying segment, so you have to use it wisely. What's cool is if you choose not to use either the Chaos Blast or the Chaos Control, and you let the meter die gradually, you will have temporary invincibility, but also, it will give you temporary unlimited ammo with any weapon, which I didn't know about until recently while replaying the game for the video. So I thought that was so cool. Which brings us to the controversial element of the game: guns. Guns. I love the guns in the game. Not only do you have a variety of alien and human firearms, but you also can use swords and other environmental objects that you might find along the way. Honestly, the only sword that's worth using is the katana that you get from the special shadow boxes, because it's just so fucking awesome and it feels right, it feels so good. But going back to guns, I feel like this game took a page from Halo, which kind of makes sense because Halo came out 2001 and Shadow came out 2005, which I'm absolutely okay with because I love Halo. Human guns are about what you expect. You got your handguns, your machine guns, your bazookas. Even Eggman has some weapons for you. But the Black Arms weapons have a bit more flair, especially this one where you could just suck someone in and make them do a spin dash. Look how horrifying it is when you do it to a human. Do you feel like a monster yet? I just think it's great. The best weapons are definitely from the Shadow box, especially the Omo Chow potato gun. Guns actually have more uses than just taking care of enemies, as it really helps you destroy obstacles along your path stuff that will slow you down and make you take damage, which makes it incredibly helpful and useful to help you get to the goal as quickly as possible. I just think it's kind of a clever way to take an odd element for a game like this and just use it in very creative ways to help you complete the game. In most stages, weapons are optional, but there are a few times where it is essential in order to progress, like when you have to shoot buttons in order to get them to match colors so you can get to the other platform. I'm okay that Shadow had guns in this game, but I'm also okay that he doesn't use guns anymore. Maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like the main thing that people clown on the game more than the guns is the use of damn and hell.
Damn it! What does it all mean? Yes, Doctor, you will regret ever having created me. You're going straight to hell! Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald? Shadow, what are you gonna do with them? I was created to bring order and justice to the humans. With the power of these emeralds, I'm going to destroy this damn planet.
Honestly, it sounds funnier to hear Sonic say damn or Knuckles say damn over Shadow the Hedgehog, but still, I understand that the game was trying to appeal to teenagers. Like, Sega really wanted to appeal to teenagers, but I do appreciate that this game had a story that it took seriously. It didn't need guns and damn to do that. Sonic games, believe it or not, had stories that had emotion and a narrative that the game developers put their heart and soul in. I mean, have you played Sonic Adventure? There was straight up dead Chow that were killed and fueled Chaos's anger and motivation in the game's story. Yeah, the voice acting wasn't perfect, but the game's narrative and gameplay made up for it. Of course, you can't forget about Gerald Robotnik wanting to blow up the Earth for the death of Maria, giving his last words before being executed on camera by the goddamn security guards. I can go on and on about how dark and, dare I say, a bit complex Sonic can be, and how Sonic Forces completely spits on that, but I'll save that for another time. But speaking of which, unlike in Sonic Forces where you can just stand in front of enemies and they just act like fucking mannequins, in Shadow the Hedgehog, enemies actually feel like a threat. They actually go out of their way to attack you, either by shooting you, hitting you, or using their abilities to their advantage. I like the variations, especially with the big bulking powerhouse. Some of them use shields, which are surprisingly effective against the strongest firearm in the game from the Shadow boxes that usually takes 1 or 2 hits to kill. Shadow is usually accompanied by a companion, which obviously gives you the mission objectives, whether it be Sonic, Knuckles, Amy. Funny enough, the useless ones are the villains like Doomseye or Eggman, which kind of makes sense because they're evil and they're dicks. I mean, they can't even be bothered to help you. Least Eggman could have done was make a Shadow android to accompany me. I like an Eggman-themed Shadow android. That would be kind of cool, actually. Oh, send Metal Sonic, you fucking asshole! But when you're with Sonic and friends, they do try to help, but they're not overly reliable.
Please be careful not to fall.
But they can cause damage, which leads me to the best secret of the game that I don't think many people know. Watch, I end up being wrong on this one. Now, bear with me because I'm gonna build up to it. The game does have 2-player mode where you and a friend can compete to see who is the true ultimate life form by killing each other. All I'll say is it's fun, but I wish there was more variations of Shadow. I wish there was one where he's completely blue and has a beige, like skin-colored, like fur on his chest. The stages are nice and big, but I wish there was at least 3 more. But anyway, what many people may not know is that your friend can accompany you on some stages provided that there's another character that has arms and legs. Your friend can play Sonic, who as far as I know is the only one with a homing attack. No spin dash for some reason. Actually, not that they could do it anyway as NPCs. Tails can attack people with his ass. And yes, you can play Maria, who I thought all she could do was just move around, but I was incredibly surprised that she can jump and use the attack button to throw hands. And I'm sorry. I love this shit so much. Oh god. Okay, let me calm down. Let me calm down. She can even damage some enemies. Seeing her fight Chaos is just a joy to watch. Yeah, she can damage some enemies, but I couldn't get her to finish them, so it's like playing Mickey in Kingdom Hearts 2. Fucking guy's useless. She can't hurt soldiers. I wish she could, but I'll take what I can get.
What happened to my past?
Bosses are a lot of fun even when you're fighting the Egg Breaker or Black Bull for a second time. the stage is always different. It's not just a reskin of the previous one, there's more to do and the bosses have different attack patterns and abilities. One thing I want to touch on before my final thoughts is what really happened and the truth about Shadow's origin and return.
That blue hedgehog Sonic. Could we somehow be related?
In the last story where everything is revealed finally, it is revealed, or rather, it is confirmed that Black Doom had a hand in the creation of Shadow, which is kind of revealed in one of the pseudo-endings, but again, you kind of just assume it's a misdirection, like Shadow being 100% android. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it because again, the whole point of him getting the Chaos Emeralds was to reveal the truth. And again, one of the misdirection in 2 of the pseudo-endings. But it was also revealed that Shadow has Black Doom's blood coursing through his veins, and that he was supposed to deliver the Chaos Emeralds to fulfill the deal that Doom had with Professor Gerald. But Shadow says, "Fuck you!" turns Super Shadow during the final boss, and then Eggman, my beautiful mustached messiah, reveals that he did lie to Shadow about being an android, and that he was the one who saved him after the events of Sonic Adventure 2, meaning that he is indeed the original.
Shadow, can you hear me? This might be the last chance I have to speak to you, so what I said about having created you, it was all a lie. Everyone thought you died during that horrible incident, but I rescued you with one of my robots. You lost your memory, that's all. You really are the ultimate life form my grandfather created.
But you don't find out until 8 minutes in, just sticking around with the final boss. In a way, it kind of punishes you for being good at the game. Unless it's supposed to be an Easter egg, kind of like the hidden Joker dialogue in Arkham City.
See you soon, Bax. What are you waiting for? We both know how this is going to turn out. You're going to come and find me. You can't stop yourself, can you? Sometimes I wonder if all this will just end with one of us looking down at the other's corpse, trying to work out what to do next. The only question is, whose body will it be? I know who I'm rooting for. What about you? Now get out of there now, or you'll ruin everything.
What? I kind of feel like that's a stretch, but I do love that after taking on a roller coaster of the story, unlocking the different endings, you finally get all the answers from the last story, and that helps you organize and figure out what really happened during Shadow's Odyssey. I really loved it. I love this game. Nitpicks and problems aside, I think at least for me, it is so replayable, and I think that that's where a game really succeeds, is when it is replayable and you just want to enjoy it forever. I love Shadow. And if you really think about it, this game really does put him through the ringer. He's unsure which side he should take. People are taking advantage of his amnesia and gaslighting him to either manipulate or to get him to drop his guard. Shadow is haunted by his past, and the game gives him development that allows him to grow, and the story ends with him finally learning the truth, which allows him to heal and move on from his trauma. Which, remember, his best friend died right in front of him, and his home was taken from him along with his creator, so that kind of shit lasts a lifetime. On top of that, there is a character that was introduced known as the Gun Commander. I know his name's Abraham, but whatever. Which, side rant, I love that the movies call it Gun, because there's no way around it. Some of the later games just say GUN.
The International Security Organization, GUN, has begun to investigate the event.
Protecting our planet from alien threats. That day, Guardian Units of Nations was born.
GUN, seriously?
Gun, yeah.
Like, you can't just pretend it doesn't spell gun, okay? Anyway, the commander has a history with Shadow as he believes he was the one responsible for what happened on the Ark 50 years ago. And more interestingly, he was behind Maria's death, which, did he even see the bullet hole in her? Or did he just read that in the reports? Did he, he didn't look further into it when he became a gun commander? How did he feel when he found out that Gun was responsible for Maria's death? Does he resign? What does he do? By the way, you can also get in a fight with Maria's murderer, which is like getting in a fight with Joe Chill in a Batman game, which is, I feel like there's a lot of weight behind this, and it's kind of fucked up, but in a really great way. There's a really good scene where the commander confronts Shadow, just letting out his emotions about what he thought happened on the arc years ago. At this point, the commander realizes that Shadow wasn't the monster he thought he was, and really broke down, especially when he discovered in the last story that Shadow wasn't responsible for what happened. And if you play in expert mode, the commander actually calls Shadow to apologize for being a prick and invites him over for dinner to make amends, which I think that's really cool character development.
Shadow, do you read me? First, I want to apologize for the other day. Actually, I just became a grandfather last week, and I was thinking of maybe having you over.
I also like the fact that the character isn't forgotten and is actually seen in the Dark Beginnings animated specials. By the way, randomly I want to add in, Maria had a terminal illness that the game references, which was why Professor Joe Robotnik created Shadow, because he believed Shadow's blood could cure Maria, which I think kind of adds to the tragedy and the close bond between them. And I think it's kind of beautiful in a lot of ways. I'm really happy that Sega isn't pretending that this game never happened. I mean, Black Doom returns in Shadow Generations, which is awesome. I'm happy that it serves as basically a sequel, as it's been a while since we got to play them in the story campaigns. It kind of felt like it died down, like we hadn't get to play Shadow in such a long time. I mean, maybe there's some racing games here and there, but still. Sonic Forces aside, because that was mostly DLC, it was really like, I don't know, I don't really count that. I honestly had a lot of fun going through the game again, reliving one of my fondest memories, and I look forward to replaying this in the future. Also, I hope that there will be more games where Shadow is playable in the future, but I have a feeling that with the hype surrounding Shadow Generations, people loving the shit out of it, I have a feeling we're going to get more of the ultimate life form in the future. And that is a future I'm excited for.
Out of my way. Coming through.
Stop! Don't move, or we'll shoot!
Stupid humans.